another video. Hopefully this one will be relatively short, and this is going to be my April TBR talk. I'm participating in a couple of different reading related things this month and just kind of wanted to talk through them since they're happening. I don't usually set a TBR for myself because I am such a mood reader, and so it's hard for me to know what I will want to read by the end of the month. At the beginning of the month, but with the different reading challenges that I'm participating in, I thought it'd be fun to just come on and do this video to talk about the things that I'm hoping to get to this month. So first off, I have a couple books that I'm just like really excited about that have been on my radar that I'm really looking forward to getting to in the near future. So I have 3 of those. The first of which is an anthology, and this is Eat Joy, Stories and Comfort Food from 31 Celebrated Writers. So this is, as I said, an anthology from a bunch of different, mostly novelists, but there are, I think, some like essayists and other writers in this collection, basically just talking about important moments that they've had with food in some pivotal moment in their life. So this was a gift from one of my really good friends who hopefully is watching this video. Hi, Bryn, if you're watching, and I have not gotten the chance to read it yet, but I'm really, really excited. I love to cook and I love food writing, so I think this will be a really enjoyable read. The next book that I'm interested in is another anthology, another purple anthology actually, and this is A Map is Only One Story, 20 Writers on Immigration, Family, and the Meaning of Home. So this is a collection from Catapult, from their literary magazine, and it's a bunch of different stories that they have collected. Some I believe are essays, some are fiction. There's even like a graphic short memoir in here, all surrounding the meaning of home and migration and immigration, which are all themes that I really enjoy reading about. So I'm really excited to get to this one as well. The next of which I mentioned in my previous video, and that is Writers and Lovers by Lily King, which was one of my March Book of the Month Club picks. As I said, I've really enjoyed Euphoria, and I'm really excited about this one. It follows a young woman who's like leaving her 20s, I believe, named Casey, who is trying to become a writer, but is just struggling with kind of making ends meet, and she ends up kind of, I think, falling for 2 different people. So it's a literary fiction novel about like themes of finding yourself and kind of feeling at a loss in your 20s and trying to figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life, which is something that is incredibly applicable to me, and something that I really relate with and have wanted to find more and more in literature. So when I heard about this novel, I was really, really excited, and I can't wait to get to this one. I also have my 2 Book of the Month Club picks from this month, the first of which is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is a rom-com featuring 2 writers, similar to Writers and Lovers, one of whom writes romance novels, another writes literary fiction, and they have kind of an enemies to lovers situation happening at a beach house, and I've just heard some really great early buzz about it, and this is like a month early. Book of the Month has picked it up, so I'm really excited to get to that one this month, hopefully. And then another one which I hadn't actually heard of before, but the Book of the Month had it, and I was so intrigued by it that I had to pick it up, and that's called Valentine, which is a debut by Elizabeth Wetmore, and this is a semi-historical fiction novel set in the 1970s in Texas, in oil country, and it follows a few different women after a crime is committed within their town. And it just sounds really awesome. It sounds like it'll have some great potential for like land as character, environmental writing, which is something that I really love, as well as just some great like strong female characters, both of which are things that really, really appeal to me. So excited about those 2 as well. Then this is the third project that I'm working on, is the BookTube prize, started by Robert at Barter Hordes. I'll put a link to his channel as well as the website for the BookTube prize in the description box below. And I followed the prize last year and really enjoyed hearing about all the books, so I was really excited to participate this year. But one of the caveats of judging is that you can't talk about your thoughts about the books until the round's complete. So you won't hear about the books that, or my thoughts on the books, until the round is over at the end of May. But I am judging, I will say, Fiction Group D, so if you want to check out the website, you can figure out what books I'm reading, but I'm not going to be talking about them, except in a vlog that's going to go up at the end of May, beginning of June. So keep an eye out for that, and I will be reading those books, but I'm not going to talk about them here in this video. And then most importantly, the other reading challenge that I'm hoping to tackle this month is the O.W.L.s readathon, which is a month-long readathon hosted by Book Roast, who is a British YouTuber, I believe, and she has put together this incredibly elaborate month-long readathon. I will put a link to her announcement for year 3, which is this year's video down below. She's just put hours and hours of work into it, and I've always kind of admired it from afar, but now that I have this channel, I thought I would join in and get some books read for it. So the goal of the readathon is to complete your O.W.L. ordinary wizarding levels as they do in the Harry Potter world, and by doing that you complete different book related challenges, and the end goal of the O.W.L.s and then the Newts, which happen in September or October I believe, are then to complete some sort of qualifications for a wizarding career. So for my wizarding career, as in my real life, I can't decide which career I'd most want to have, so I'm going to strive towards 3 different careers for this readathon, which I'll tell you about in a minute, and then hopefully by the time the Newts roll around, I will feel a bit more solidified in what career I want to choose, and then take my Newts accordingly. So the 3 careers that I am most interested in are culinary sorcerer. So I love to cook in my everyday life. It's something I want to feature more on this channel, cooking and recipes and cookbooks, so look out for some of that content in the future. And I just think that being a culinary sorcerer in the wizarding world would be super fun. You get to like make food appear and disappear and all that good stuff. So that would be 1, and the 4 O.W.L.s that you need for that are arithmancy, charms, herbology, and potions. Then the next one that I'm really interested in completing is herbologist. So in my undergrad degree I studied biology. I love plants. Anyone who like knows me personally can attest to that. So I think herbology would be really fun. Professor Sprout also just seems like one of the best professors at Hogwarts. I think herbology was such a cool class, and I kind of had always wished that it was explored more in the Harry Potter world, but obviously Harry didn't like it, so it wasn't explored all that much. But yeah, so herbologist would be a super cool career, and for that you only need 3. You need herbology, potions, and care of magical creatures, which leads me to my final career, which is Magizoologist, which is basically a Hagrid type person. Obviously Hagrid is another one of the best characters in the wizarding world, so I would love to be like Hagrid when I grow up. And for that you need 4 O.W.L.s. You need care of magical creatures, charms, herbology, and potions. So there's 5 O.W.L.s that I need to complete my 3 potential career pathways, and then there's a couple other prompts that I think I will pretty easily complete with my other reading throughout the month. So the first prompt that I have in front of me is care of magical creatures, which, as I said, I need for the herbologist and Magizoologist careers, and the prompt for that is a book with a beak on the cover. So I have 2 options. As I said, I'm very much a mood reader, so I didn't want to like set a TBR specifically for these prompts, but just give myself some options that I can read throughout the month. So the first that I have is the Bird King, which has a bird with a beak on the cover right there, and this is a historical fiction novel set in the 15th century, or around then, and tells the story of the consort of a sultan to the Iberian Peninsula, so kind of pre-Spanish Inquisition time period, and I think there's some political turmoil that then causes the main character and a map maker to have to flee, and there's some fantastical magical elements in this. This was a book that I acquired from a local indie bookstore during this social distancing period, and so I've been really looking forward to getting to this. So this is my first option, and then the second option is another historical fiction / fantasy, and that is Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez. So this is I believe it's technically YA fantasy, and it is inspired by Bolivian politics and history, and tells the story of a girl who is a lady in waiting to the royal in this monarchy, and then there is a kind of mix-up, so then she has to take in the place for the royal, and I believe some hijinks ensue, and she has to go on a quest, I'm sure, to save some stuff. But yeah, so really excited for this one. This is another option, and then the beak on the cover of this one is right there or right there. So excited about that one as well. The next category that I have is herbology. And herbology's prompt is Mimbulus Mimbletonia, a title that starts with M. So for that I actually have 3 potential books for that prompt. However, one of them is one of the BookTube prize books that I may or may not get to this month, but if I do, I might count it towards this prompt. And then I have 2 other highly anticipated books on my shelf. So the first of which is The Morse Account, which is another historical fiction novel, also set around the 16th century, and it follows a slave of a Spanish explorer coming to the New World. So it kind of tells that story through the eyes of this slave and kind of his hunt for freedom and power within the new dynamics of the New World. So this book has gotten a lot of praise. It was published a while back, I believe 2014, so it's been out for quite a while, and I saw this in a used bookstore, and it's a brand new copy, so a couple months back, and really have wanted to read it ever since. So this is the first one for that Herbology prompt. And then the second one I have is my autobiography of Carson Colors by Jen Shapland. So this is part memoir, part biography, part literary criticism, part a bunch of different other stuff that Jen Shapland wrote after becoming really interested in Carson Colors through her academic dissertation in English. She was at the UT Austin, I believe, which houses the Harry Ransom Center, which has a lot of Carson McCullers' personal belongings, as well as some of her letters and stuff. And Carson McCullers is one of my favorite authors. I love her. I think she's a classic Southern writer that is kind of really underloved in the book community. And so I'm really excited to see kind of what Jen Shapland's thoughts are on Carson McCullers, as well as kind of how she ties all of these genres together. So really excited about this one as well. Hopefully we'll get to it this month. The next prompt I have to talk about is arithmancy, which is studying the magical qualities of 2. So it's supposed to be to read a book outside of your favorite genre. I don't have a favorite genre. I read pretty widely, and none of them I would necessarily say are my favorite, but I do have some genres that are specifically not my favorite, including graphic novels. So this is Check Please by Ngozi Ukazu. I'm pretty sure I butchered that name, and I'm so sorry. And this is a very popular webcomic turned graphic novel here on BookTube that features these 2 boys on a hockey team who I believe end up having a relationship, and one of them loves baking, and it's just supposed to be really wholesome and cute. My sister got this, and as well as 2 of the other bind-ups for me for my birthday, and so I've been really excited to read these ones, and this will be very quick to read, so I'm sure I will get to it this month. The next one I have is Potions, which is a shrinking solution, or a book under 150 pages, and I have 2 options for this, the first of which is actually on my Kindle, and it is The Governess Affair by Courtney Milan. I really don't know much about this one, except that it's a romance novella that starts Courtney Milan's historical romance series. I believe it's set during the Regency time, like most historical romances. That's a genre I really enjoy and don't usually have to know all that much about, but Courtney Milan is a author, especially with all the RWA stuff that went down back at the beginning of the year. Is definitely an author I want to check out, so I got that one and have it waiting for me on my Kindle. And then the other option is a physical book, and that is 1,000 Mornings, Poems by Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver is a poet who I really enjoy. I don't read poetry all that often, but I have read some of her poems, but I've never read a full collection of hers. And this is one of her later collections. I believe it might be the last one that she published before she passed away. It was published in 2012. And yeah, I'm just really excited about this one to kind of dive into. I feel like poems might be a nice thing to read during this kind of tumultuous time in my life, so really excited about that one. And then I saved the best stack for last, which is Charms, during which we're studying Lumos Maxima. So you're supposed to pick a book with white on the cover, and I've given myself 5 different options. The first of which, again, I don't have with me yet, and it is Days of Distraction by Alexandra Chang. So this is a debut release that actually just came out yesterday when I'm filming this, March 31st, and features, similarly to Writers and Lovers, a young woman who's kind of finding herself in a new place and really feeling at a loss of what to do next. She's recently left her job in the tech industry and has now moved to Ithaca, New York, or somewhere very akin to Ithaca, because her boyfriend has started graduate school, and she's really feeling at a loss, and kind of both personally and culturally. She starts to look into kind of her Chinese American heritage, as well as kind of learn more stuff about herself. This is probably my most anticipated release of the year, so as soon as I get my copy, I'm sure I will be reading it. And it does have a white cover, as you'll be able to see in the picture that I hopefully can get on the screen. But then I do also have 4 other options. I guess white books are just very popular on my shelves. The first of which I have is Real Life by Brandon Taylor, and this is cheating ever so slightly because the actual cover, which I'll post a picture of right here, doesn't actually have white on it, but I realized that this book is white underneath, which technically doesn't count, but it's a book that I really want to get to in the near future, so I may or may not count it anyway. And this again is another literary fiction novel about a person finding themselves, especially in a situation where they very much feel like an outsider. So this is like a semi-autobiographical novel wherein the main character is attending a graduate program at a small Midwestern town that reads very much, I believe, like Madison, Wisconsin, which is where Brandon Taylor got his PhD in biochemistry, and he feels just kind of surrounded by the mundane whiteness that is the Midwest sometimes, and I think feels very much like an outsider, especially after some like personal tragedy I believe happens in his life. And it's just kind of reflections on, I believe, one weekend over the course of a summer while he's a graduate student there. I've been really looking forward to this debut release as well, so I'm hopefully going to get to it very soon. And then I also have a nonfiction book, so I have 2 nonfiction books that have white on the cover. The first of which is Fisherman's Blues, A West African Community at Sea by Anna Badkin. This is an ethnographic nonfiction book, but it is written for a general audience. It was published by Riverhead, which is one of my favorite imprints of Penguin Random House, and basically discusses this West African community, I believe in Senegal, wherein fishermen and people are kind of at a loss for how to move forward in their life because of drastic kind of changes to both global industrial fishing as well as climate change and how that's kind of affecting their everyday lives. So this is something that I'm really interested in. I think environmental changes and how that affects communities is something that fascinates me. I actually took a class that was on a very similar topic during my senior year of college. And yeah, so I've just been really excited to pick this one up. I'm hoping it's good. I really have not heard anyone talk about this, but I have it on my shelves and it has white on it, so here we are. The next book I have is The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs, A New History of Their Lost World by Steve Brusatte. Steve Brusatte is a paleontologist at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, and if anyone who is watching this knows me personally, they know that I absolutely love dinosaurs. I seriously thought about becoming a geology major and studying paleobiology, but I just do not care enough about rocks to do that. But this is basically a general public review of all of the scientific discoveries regarding dinosaurs and their evolution, as well as their phenology, kind of from their early evolution all the way to their extinction 65 million years ago. So really excited to read this. I'm sure a lot of it will be stuff that I already know, but also I don't really care. So yeah, really excited to get into this one as well. And then the last book I have is another Book of the Month Club pick, and that is A Good Neighborhood by Therese Ann Fowler. So this is another literary fiction novel that's set in a small college town in North Carolina, which I believe is perhaps supposed to be a Chapel Hill-like place, wherein a white family moves in next door to a single black mother and her teenage son Xavier. And I believe that the white family has a teenage daughter who then begins to develop a relationship with Xavier, and bad stuff happens. I was supposed to see this author talk about 2 weeks ago here in Atlanta, but unfortunately with everything that got canceled, but I am still really excited about this book, and looking forward to seeing what this has in store. And then there are 3 other prompts that I may be able to fulfill just through kind of my general other reading. So those include Defense Against the Dark Arts, which I do have this, which is a book that's set at the sea or on a coast, and I do have Grief Cottage by Gail Godwin on my shelves, which is a kind of ghost story literary fiction novel about kind of grief and ghosts as manifestations of grief, and it's set on a cottage by the sea in South Carolina. So this is something that I've wanted to get to for a while, so I might kind of spur of the moment pick this one up. And then additionally there is the prompt Astronomy, which is to read a book only at night, and I definitely read it a lot at night, so I think that wouldn't be too much of an issue. And then finally we have Mongol studies, which is read a novel that talks about Mongols, which is really just a contemporary, and I do have a couple of contemporaries that are kind of waiting for me in other aspects of my reading this month, so I will likely get that one finished as well. Wow, that was a lot of talking all at once. I'm not sure how long this video is, but if you've gotten to the end, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.